afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities and the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. I am Teresa Aronson, President and CEO of the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce. It is our pleasure, our honor to be a part of today's Candidate Forum. The St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce is made up of almost 900 business members. We represent business interests here in St. Lucie County. We're very fortunate to be the only chamber representing your business here in St. Lucie County, and it gives us an opportunity to be involved in great events such as this one. I'd like to introduce my co-moderator, Mr. Tom Campenny.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Campenny, and I'm representing the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities. The Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities was founded in 2006 and is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization made up of 14 cities, towns, and villages in St. Lucie, Martin, Indian River, and Okeechobee counties. The League is one of over 24 affiliates of the Florida League of Cities. Our mission is to raise awareness and promote the collective interest of the municipalities and their residents on the Treasure Coast. We are here to emphatically support home rule and to educate our populations.
Very good. I'm going to go over some housekeeping. Again, I'm going to ask the audience to make sure that they've either turned off their phone or put them on silence. For the candidates, this is how it's going to work today. We are doing an order of appearance randomly. I guess that has already been chosen. We're going to start from left to right, my left to right. Opening statements will be 2 minutes. You will be getting a 15-second paddle that Catherine Cordero will demonstrate right now. And at the end of that 15 seconds, you will get the time's up paddle and the ding. And at that time, I'm going to have to ask that you cease speaking immediately. We are going to enforce that emphatically as well. Topics will be a wide range of state issues. The moderator, that's myself and Mr. Campetti, will read the questions. No interaction among the candidates, audience members, or other program participants is allowed. Answers to these questions on issues will be limited to 1 minute, and each candidate will be given the chance to answer. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for closing statements to wrap up and cover any issues not yet discussed. We will do that in reverse order. Lastly, there will be no winner declared by the moderator or event sponsors, no grandstanding, speaking off topic, or off color remarks. I don't think I need to say that to this crowd, but I did anyway. We will get started, and with that, we're going to start with our opening remarks. Don't forget, 2 minutes opening and closing, 1 minute to each question. And I will...
Mr. Dadan.
Thank you. My name is Sasha Dadan, and I'm running to be your next representative for District 83. I want to start by thanking our moderators, Teresa Aronson, also Tom Campenny, Patricia Christensen, for putting this event together, as well as our audience members who are present today and those who will be viewing at a future date. We need to elect someone who is invested and passionate about our community, who can advocate for people. And that's exactly what I've been doing for a very, very long time. In 2014, I moved to the Treasure Coast. I've been with my husband for over 6 years, and we have a home in Port St. Lucie. I made my legal career to advocate for children and families. I started as a guardian ad litem, representing children who had been abandoned, abused, and neglected in our legal system. I also represented over 3,000 people at the Public Defender's Office advocating for our constitutional rights. And I helped start the first injunction for protection project in St. Lucie County, Indian River County, and Martin County. This project, for the first time, gave victims a voice in court and gave them legal representation. Some of those victims were children. I now own my own law practice, but I've been equally active in my community. I have served as a board member of Children Emergency Resources, dedicating to helping parents who have no insurance or little insurance to get that child the medical care that they need. I've also been vice president of the Sexual Assault Response Team, a member of the Martin County Bar Association, and equally active in my church. What's very unique about me is that as a lawyer, I am a litigator. I have litigated many, many cases. I'm experienced in the sense that I can read and interpret statutes or research them, and that is what a state lawmaker does. I want to fight for our waterways, make our waterways great again. I want to fight for public safety education, and I want to keep our policies strong, more jobs, less government regulation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do need to mention for TV purposes, we are going to need to remain seated. Ms. Dadan, I think it was okay. Toby, I don't think your height is going to be able to.
I wasn't going to stand.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Overdorf.
Thank you all very much for allowing me to be here today. To the League of Cities, thank you very much. To the St. Lucie County Chamber, thank you as well for the time to be able to be here and to have an opportunity to really, if you will, video meet all of our constituents and our hopeful constituents as we move forward. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Toby Overdorf, and I have been a resident of the region here for almost 26 years. I have a small business here locally that grew from nothing into now we have 31 employees, and we work literally throughout the Treasure Coast, from as far south as Miami up through Jacksonville. I've really understood what it is to have literally nothing in the bank and then be able to create something out of that. And I have a master's degree in biology. I have an environmental MBA as well, and have used those to find a balance between both the economy and our environment. If we don't have a strong economy, we can't have a strong environment, and without a strong environment, we certainly cannot have a strong economy. So when we balance these two things, that is an area that I feel like I'm an expert in. The areas that I'd really like to get to work on as a candidate and as a legislator would be working, first of all, in the St. Lucie County, the St. Lucie River, and working associated with the restoration with that. I think I'm very well suited to be able to do that. Second part, in St. Lucie County, I would like to continue to grow the economic base, doing it through whether it be jobs training or bringing in additional companies into the county here. We have a lack of skilled workers in the area here, and I think this is an area that we really have to expand upon. Again, I feel like I'm well suited with this in that I have the educational background and the small business experience to be able to do this. My name again is Toby Overdorf, and I look forward to representing you in District 83. Thank you.
Mr. Theobold.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Theobold.
Make sure your green button is on. There's a green button if you hit push. Is it on?
Yes, ma'am.
There we go. Each of you, please make sure it's on before you start speaking. There you go. Sorry.
Well, let me start again. Good afternoon. I'd like to start by thanking the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities and the St. Lucie County Chamber for hosting this event. And I thank each and every one of you in the audience for being here today. My name is Matt Theobold, and I'm a candidate for State Representative in House District 83. For those of you who don't know me, I usually start off my introductions by telling folks that I'm a Florida native, born and raised right here on the Treasure Coast. And in fact, I've called the Treasure Coast my home for my entire life. The second thing I usually do when introducing myself is tell folks that I'm a teacher. In fact, I teach American government and economics at the very same high school from which I graduated. The other thing that I usually like to add is that I'm also a very proud alumnus of Indian River State College, and my days go way back to when it was called Indian River Community College, so that gives you an idea how long I've been here. I didn't always know that I wanted to be a teacher, but I did know from seeing my parents at a very early age that I wanted to be involved in public service and giving back to my community. It's this passion for community service that I saw in my parents, who happen to be here in the audience tonight, that led me into the classroom, and almost 10 years later led me on to the dais here tonight. I'm running to be your state representative because I want to be the voice for my hometown in Tallahassee. I want to serve my friends, my family, and my neighbors, and I plan on doing so to the best of my ability. And I know that I would very much appreciate your support, and I thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Campetti?
Our first question. Florida cities have home rule powers, which means they do not need legislative authorization to address local needs. The authority was granted to every city 50 years ago in our state constitution. Each year, the legislature passes laws that limit or preempt municipal home rule powers. If elected, would you oppose efforts to preempt municipal home rule powers? Are there any circumstances under which you would support a legislative preemption of home rule?
We're starting that with Mr. Theobald.
Well, thank you very much. I know that home rule has existed here for the past 50 years, but the local commission system has existed in the United States for much longer, dating all the way back to hurricane recovery efforts in Galveston in the early 1900s. To me, this says that there is no better entity to deal with local issues than local governments elected by local residents. So I would do everything in my power to protect home rule and to protect local government's authority over such matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Overdorf?
Well, as a Republican, I believe that the government closest to the people is the best for the people. Part of that is looking at home rule, and I believe that the cities and the towns, I'm in a unique situation in that Martin County wants to grow one way, and the city of Stewart wants to grow one way. The city of Port St. Lucie wants to grow another way. Who am I as a state legislator to tell you that you have to grow in a certain way? Now, there are some things that should be on the state level, whether it be speed control or looking at overall licensures or things along those lines. But when you're looking at zoning issues, when you're looking at, say, tree regulations on a local basis, those should be controlled by the municipality that's closest to the people. So I would certainly support home rule in those areas.
Mr. Dunn.
The local county understands the local needs of the people.
Thank you. The local county understands the local needs of the people. As such, home rule should remain alive and should not be usurped by state authority. But there are circumstances where I think that state would be best over home rule, and one of those would be wages, having a statewide wage versus the local county governments coming in and saying that every person has to be paid X, Y, Z. I think when we're looking at wages, that is one of the things that I would be in disagreement with local home rule.
Thank you. Ms. Aronson?
Your next question. This time we'll be starting with Mr. Overdorf. Many state and federal laws mandate cities to implement various laws and programs, but do not provide any funding to carry out the mandate. If elected, would you oppose legislation that would impose unfunded costs and programs on cities?
So unfunded mandates are unfortunately something that has been handed down on a regular basis, and in some cases it's unavoidable where there are licensure requirements, where there are, and after sitting on the Small Business Advisory Board, there were some areas where it was unavoidable. However, an overall mandate that would hand down unfunded mandates is not something that I would like to saddle our local governments with.
Ms. Dadan?
I don't support unfunded mandates. Certainly, I'd like to do the best that I can as a state representative to make sure that states are, local governments are being funded properly. I can think of one example now with the Parkland shooting with Nicholas Cruz. And right before the last legislative session, they issued that the schools have to have more SRO officers, but those mandates are now unfunded. So when if I'm elected to be the next state representative, I certainly want to look at the budget and see how we can fund those additional resource officers for schools.
Mr. Theobald?
After 20 years of single-party rule, we've seen the effects of unfunded mandates go unchecked here in our state in the form of education, the environment, public safety, and the folks who ultimately bear the burdens of that are our local municipalities and the people who live there. I believe very strongly that unfunded mandates should be opposed at all costs, and that the legislature should do its job and fully fund the initiatives that it proposes.
And Mr. Campenny?
Community redevelopment areas are created to improve blighted areas throughout the use of tax increment financing to make those improvements. These CRAs have been very successful in several of our local communities, such as Fort Pierce, Vero, and Stewart, revitalizing the older downtown areas. Do you support the continuation of locally funded CRAs? I believe it's Mr. Dunn?
Yep.
Yes. I do support CRAs. They're a great way to invest back into our communities to help create jobs, to help strengthen our economic policies. I can look at Fort Pierce and the Renaissance and look at all that has been done to revitalize that area. If you go out to Martin County, you'll see Rio. There are certain areas that the CRAs are being applied for affordable housing. Those are our great areas for CRAs. The only thing I ask for is accountability and transparency with taxpayer dollars, which the CRAs use to fund their projects along with TIF funds.
Mr. Theobold.
I also support CRAs in our local communities. They provide jobs, they encourage small business development, and provide affordable housing. I would support every effort to keep CRAs and to keep the local control within our local communities.
Mr. Overdorf.
So tax increment financing has been an area that has seen a great opportunity within the specifically Palm City CRA, and we also saw where government stepped in most recently in the Martin County government and took that funding away from Palm City until a new administration came in and put it back into place. We're seeing a revitalization in Palm City, in the town of, I think you meant to say Rio, not Oreo. In the town of Rio, we've also seen a new area there as well, where the entire downtown has been redeveloped and revitalized there as well. So those are areas that I absolutely believe that CRAs are positive, and I would continue to support the CRAs, having worked in many of them, whether it be for the areas up here in St. Lucie or working in many of them in Martin County as well. And I would absolutely continue to see the CRAs flourish, hopefully. Thank you.
Ms. Aronson.
Very good. Just a reminder, no interaction among the candidates. I do want to pose this question. What is the most pressing issue faced by the state of Florida, your proposed legislative district, the city or cities in your proposed legislative district? And this time I believe we start with Mr. Theobold.
Martin County and the St. Lucie estuary are ground zero for the Florida legislature's failures with our environment. And I believe that cleaning up the St. Lucie River and the Indian River Lagoon should be priority number one. We've learned in most recent presentations that the toxic algae that flows through our waterways not only is harmful for the environment and for the animals who live in those ecosystems, but is also a danger to human health, being linked to diseases such as ALS, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's. I cannot think of one issue throughout the state of Florida that is greater than that.
Mr.
Repeat the
Overdorf.
question, please.
Sure. What is the most pressing issue faced by the state of Florida, your proposed legislative district, the city or cities in your proposed legislative district?
So I would agree with my opponent to the left in that the St. Lucie River and the estuary there is certainly number one within the area here. The economic base associated with it, the restoration associated with it, and what that's done to real estate values and what that's done to our region. I think that is the number one issue for the majority of the District 83. Secondary to that also would be the continued pursuit of jobs and job training and making sure that we have a viable and strong workforce within the region here. And you actually can combine those two in the skills training as well as looking at the restoration efforts. We'd certainly need strong professionals to be able to do that effort. So I would look at both of those as a major issue that we have to have conquered within District 83. That being said, the river is the number one issue.
Thank you. Ms. Dadan?
Yes, I would agree with my opponents that the St. Lucie River is one of and the Indian River Lagoon is something that certainly that we need to support and make sure that we're supporting businesses and make sure that we're also looking at ways to fix the river. That's why I have a plan in place to do that. I want to make sure that we have the appropriate funding to fix the river by doing the SERP and SEP projects that are still on the books and have been on the books for 20 years. I want to support funding for the Herbert Hoover Dike, as well as I know the state has done its part in trying to mandate, or not mandate, but make the conversion from septic to sewer. So that is one of the most important issues. That is my plan. And also, as it comes to education, I think that's equally important, that we meet employer needs with individuals who are in school, and so that we can have a stronger economy.
Thank you. We're going to move on to closing remarks. And as we mentioned before, we will go in reverse order from the opening remarks. So that means Mr. Theobold will be first up. You remember, 2 minutes, you will receive the 15-second warning.
Well, again, I would like to thank everybody for being here today. And I would like to close with a lesson that I impart on my students. And that is that we are defined by our actions. So far, our legislature over the past 20 years has been largely inactive on the fields of the environment, education, and providing affordable housing, and making sure that Florida's economy does what it's supposed to do, and that's working for Florida families. I'm running to be the voice for my hometown. I'm running to be the representative for my friends, families, and neighbors who live in these towns. And I'm running to stand up against years of inactivity at the state level, and actually do what's right for the citizens here in House District 83. I appreciate very much your time, right, and appreciate very much your support. And I thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Mr. Overdorf.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you to my opponents as well for being here and allowing us to hear for their positions. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to have the opportunity to potentially represent all of you. I have been in training for this. I didn't know it, but I've been in training for almost 25 years for this position. And I'm grateful for the opportunity now to be able to use that experience, those relationships. My dad was a 30-year naval aviator, and that allowed me to know what it's like to give back and give that service. Also, as a result of the relationships that I've had throughout the years, we have had a tremendous amount of folks that have come out and supported us. Everybody from and here in this dais, Stephanie Morgan, Vice Mayor Shannon Martin, and as well as Council Member John Carvelli have all come out and endorsed us. Congressman Tom Rooney has come out and endorsed us. And in fact, the St. Lucie Fire Department has now, and the union has now come out and endorsed us as well. We are just so thrilled by all of these various endorsements, including also the Treasure Coast Builders Association, the Associated Builders and Contractors. Most recently, the Florida Fruit and Vegetable Association came out for us. So it's a wide-ranging support. And just as I was walking in here tonight, I received news that the Florida Realtor Association has come and endorsed us. So I am absolutely thrilled by the Florida Realtors endorsement, and it's a great way to top off a fantastic day and an opportunity to be able to address all of you. So I'm grateful again for the opportunity to be able to be here in front of you to show you my experience, my time, my relationships, and what I will bring to Tallahassee to be your representative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Dadan?
Hi, thank you again. And I hope that I could be your next state representative. I have been fighting for people on the Treasure Coast, children and families, and that is what I stand for. I have a love for people. I have a love for this community, and the works that I have done have certainly demonstrated that. I just want to let everybody know that sincerely, as an advocate in the courtroom, and as the next state lawmaker, there are things that I understand as a lawyer that have put me in a unique position to be able to advocate for people on the Treasure Coast. I care about our waterways. They're extremely important to me. I care about our public safety. I care about having a strong economy where we can create jobs and have lower government regulations. And the Florida businesses, the Associated Industries of Florida, have endorsed me, and they are individuals that represent small and large businesses. They believe that I'm going to be able to be the representative to lower our taxes, to create jobs, and limit government regulations. I hope to meet you at your door. I've been working really hard on this campaign, and the only endorsement I truly care about is the one from voters on August 28th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you to all of our candidates. Of course, you are the candidates for Florida House of Representatives, District 83. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much.